Hola.
¿Me regalas un nombre?
Sí, Sofía. Y mi apellido es Kerr. My name is Sophia Kerridge. I'm British and I'm working here in Bogota as part of the team of volunteers for PBI Colombia. I'm part of an 8-person team and we do a bunch of different stuff. So we accompany human rights defenders. That's like basically the main objective of our job. And we accompany them in various different parts of the country, but also here in Bogota so that they can do their work defending human rights. Well, I think there's no typical day as a volunteer here in Colombia as part of PBI. Every day is different, which is one of the good things. So one day you could be accompanying in the middle of nowhere. The next day you could be at a human rights hearing or like at a criminal hearing, accompanying one of the lawyers, for example. The next day you could be having meetings with various different people that we accompany or doing internal work. And although internal work sounds boring, it often means doing the preparation for a trip. So that means phoning the various authorities in the region or doing what we call an análisis de coyuntura, which is a bit hard to translate, but it basically means studying the news and the current affairs and what's been happening in that region so that we know a bit what the situation's like there before we go there. We accompany a whole different bunch of people. I think it also depends on which area you're accompanying in. But for example, here in Bogota, we accompany lawyers, we accompany victims, we accompany organizations that accompany victims. We also accompany journalists, so we see a whole bunch of different work that they are involved in. And at the same time, across that spectrum, we also accompany indigenous people, we accompany Afro-Colombians, we accompany campesinos, we accompany professionals as well. So we see a whole spectrum of different human rights work that they do here in Colombia. I think the one thing that unites all of them is the fact that they all have a vision for a Colombia that is one day a country of peace, a country where human rights are respected, where the law is something that applies to all people. And I think also one thing that really unites them is their pursuit against impunity, their pursuit of social justice, and the belief that war and that weapons aren't a way of achieving that. The accompaniments that we do are very different. For example, in Urabá, they have very rural, very terrain-based accompaniments. For example, they accompany communities of displaced people that live right in the middle of a conflict. Then there's the Magdalena Medio region, which is accompanied by the Barranca team, and they accompany, for example, the ACVC, who accompany teams of campesinos that are living there trying to, make their livelihoods. Here in Bogota, we accompany lawyers when they go and help people with legal issues. For example, this year we accompanied Cajar, which is a team of lawyers here in Colombia. We accompanied them to La Guajira, which is on the coast. And we accompanied them so that they could go and give legal advice to the Wayuu indigenous people who live there and who are threatened by a multinational who is looking to invest in the area. So basically we assisted them in that project. So it meant we got to see a completely different side of Colombia to here in Bogota. The Colombia that I know now is a different Colombia to the Colombia I had in mind when I first arrived. And that's considering I'd been here a couple of times before. Colombia is a country where the security has improved over the past couple of years in many respects, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's become a better place for human rights defenders. And I think that was one of the things that impacted me most. It shocked me a lot when I first arrived, when I saw not only that people were still receiving threats, physical attempts on their life, but the fact that they were willing to carry on with that impressed me a lot. According to a recent study that I read, it's a program called Somos Defensores. This year, between January and September alone, which is 9 months, a period of 9 months, 128 death threats have been received by human rights defenders. So that doesn't include people outside of that. And 37 human rights defenders have been killed, which is a huge amount. And it's something, of course, that affects the lives of all of the people that we accompany, because every time they receive a threat, every time that they hear about someone being killed, it's a reality. It could happen to them too.